The fashion industry is one that is multifaceted, from designing, modeling, styling, whether it be for yourselves or for other people. Statistics show that people of color have been and are still dominating said industry. Today I got some really dope people stopping by to dish with me about the role that they play in this creative area of expertise. I don't want you to go anywhere, I want you to meet me right back here because you are officially tuned in to Dishing with Dell. Welcome back. I'm your host, Chef Dell, and today for my guest, I'm whipping up a beautiful brunch that has bold flavors and looks great on a plate. I'm giving you your traditional egg benedict, but I'm putting the Chef Dell spin on this one with a jumbo lump crab cake, a soft biscuit, and a soft poached egg with Cajun hollandaise sauce. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's gonna be really hard to get through this conversation with this dish, but we're gonna try our best. All right, I got my crab cakes all set up. I'm just gonna pop them into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, y'all, I got my crab cakes in the oven. It's smelling so good in here. I'm about to get started on my biscuits. I'm gonna get this going and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Dishing with Dell. So my guests have already started to arrive and it's smelling so good in here. I'm working on my last item, which is a fried potato that's gonna be dripping with black truffle oil and Parmesan cheese. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Dishing with Dell. As you can see, my guests have arrived. Today on Dishing with Dell, we are talking fashion, and the conversation is about to get crazy. Everybody's eating right now. Some of my guests have already finished their meal, but that's good. I kind of figured that's what would happen. Welcome, everybody. How did each of you get started with fashion? Like, how did that happen for you? Morgan, I'm gonna start with you because you just seem to get it right all the time. I check your Instagram and I'm just like, wow, she just looks so good. just like, how did you get started with this?
So I was thinking about it a lot, and actually, it's funny to me that people think that I have something to do with fashion, because I don't know what I'm doing.
So you don't have anything?
No, I don't know what I'm doing. No, I actually, when I was little, like, my grandma was very fancy.
Okay.
And so she used to always like dress me up. I had like little gold bracelets, little earrings, like all this kind of stuff. And I used to love being fancy. But you know how you get older And life happens, and when you're there, like I have this memory of being like in kindergarten and you have Halloween, and I remember my father made these huge butterfly wings for me, and they were like cut out of cardboard, and they had like this colored paper in them, and I had my little leotard on, and they put me in the back, and I was like, but then the other kids were like, oh, that's weird, why you? So you slowly start to like take away some of the weird stuff. So by the time I got to like high school and stuff, I literally just wore jeans and a t-shirt all the time, and my hair back in a ponytail all the time. And so now it's important to me because it's an expression of who I am, and it's an expression of my freedom from that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna get a male's perspective on this question because I think the men have something to add to this. So I got 3 beautiful men at the table. Let's kick it off with Jamal. Jamal.
I call myself aspiring to be a designer, but I do want to be a designer. And it started with my grandmother. I watched my grandmother sew at a sewing machine for me and my mother and her sister. So that's how I that inspired me to be a designer. And my grandmother actually taught me how to pleat this past May when I went home in South Carolina, where I'm from. So that was that part of me, but me starting in fashion was in high school really, and just kind of experimenting with expressing myself and learning about like color blocking through Vogue and Ebony magazine, and just watching all the women, you know, so that was around the time where like street influencing and street style was being captured by different women, and it started actually with women just kind of like expressing themselves, and I was like, I can do the same thing too. And then watching like Brad Gorski kind of be that influential man who took experimenting with color and being playful and all those styles like that. And then once I got to college, me and my friend, we both started a menswear blog, and that's when I started to learn about the history of fashion and like learning about Parisian couture and learning about like the European woman, and kind of learning about like all the different elements that made fashion to what it is now. And I'm still like exploring all those methods and all those different theories and everything like that. So that's what kind of started me in fashion.
Nice. I appreciate that. I'm gonna kick it off to one more person because she is another one who just seems to always get it right. My homegirl Jazz. So like when it comes to just like fashion and like putting it together, like what goes through your brain when you're like getting ready in the morning?
For me, it's mostly like my mood for the day.
Okay.
I'm an Aries, so I'm like fiery and feisty, and I like to stand out and like. Even though I'm fiery and feisty, I'm also really, really shy. But I like my clothes to speak for me when I like walk into a room, or so I'll be in the corner, but I'll look fire. Okay. It mostly depends on my mood, like where I'm going, of course. But as soon as I wake up, it's always like shoe first, then the outfit, then like hair, everything else. But it mostly depends on my mood.
So the follow up to that is like inspiration. So Crystal, I'm gonna come to you because you have on this. You're giving me very like chameleon, red carpet situation right now, and I'm just like, when I think of inspiration, I'm looking at you and I'm just like, what inspired that look today, right? And you got the bob happening. Like, talk to me about that. Talk about like inspiration and like what drives you to put on like a specific item.
Okay. So this started first when Kia was like, bitch, bring it. So that was the inspiration, but for the most part, like my style is effortless. Like I don't try at all. And like Jasmine said, like if I'm at a party or whatever, it's just like, oh, that's nice how you put it together. Right. But I don't wake up like, okay, I'm gonna put on these shoes or a dress or whatever. It's just effortless with me. And yeah, that's good.
Speaking of effortless, this gentleman to my left, he, my partner in crime, I think I wanted him to be a part of this conversation because it wasn't until we got together that I actually started to take pride in like the way that I presented myself when I went outside. Like I don't want to make it seem like I was a complete bum, but when you think about it, I just didn't really put that much effort. So Brandon, like when I see you get dressed, I like there's just an energy, and I'm just like, okay, he's not just getting dressed. Like this is very strategic. It's like from the accessory to the bag to the so just talk to me about like how do you come up with with your whole image and what the process is like for you?
I think, to agree with like Morgan and Jamal, when it comes to like that family history, I think a lot about my dad. So like my dad was, a father very young. He worked on Wall Street, was a very young stockbroker, but still living in the projects. So he had to wear suits coming out of the projects. And he wasn't always that guy. So me, growing up and like seeing that, being that contrast, like this guy who lives in the hood, but he's going to Wall Street to do business, it like clicked very young for me. So, and both my parents had full-time jobs working in the morning, so it was my responsibility to get myself and my brother ready for school every morning. My father showed me how to iron, showed me how to get our uniform together. So that was always the process, Monday through Friday. You get dressed, get your brother dressed, iron your uniform, iron your pants. That's why my pants always have a crease, because I know that. So when I think about where I'm going, what I'm doing, am I going to work, am I going to brunch, am I going out for drinks, like whatever I'm doing, I think about that contrast in life of, being one thing, but then also going out into the world and being confident and presenting yourself in that, and that's super important to me. So
I feel like also with like fashion and like getting dressed, it also depends on like who you're in a relationship with and like your parents. So it's like I had an ex who told me like spend money on yourself. Like you like nice things, spend money on yourself. That's why like now I'm like into like certain brands and stuff like that. And like he said too with his father, my father's from Harlem, so you know how that is. So he told me the importance of like always look sharp, always look clean, always look, even if you're going to the store, look nice, look clean, put on an outfit. So I feel like whoever you're dealing with and like your parents, they influence like how your style develops as you go.
Welcome back to Dishing with Dell. If you're just joining us today, the conversation is surrounded around fashion. The conversation has gone in a lot of different directions, but I can say that everybody has a strong opinion about this. So we're gonna jump back into it. We'll see you back in a minute. All right, Terrence, I'm gonna bring it back to you because Jasmine mentioned something about spending money on yourself, and like that's something that I had to really understand when it came to like shopping. So now I realized that like something that speaks to me, I'm just like, nah, I gotta have it. So how do you pick and choose what you purchase and what you don't?
For me, it was like my family and family structure. So when I was growing up, my family, they're very specific about like fabric.
Okay.
So I remember like growing up, I used to just see what I like, and even now I'm the same way. I see what I like and I just buy it. But my aunt was big on fabric, so she would feel fabric and stuff. Like I remember one time I bought like a vintage piece, Yves Saint Laurent. I bought a vintage piece and she was just like, the fabric is not right. Yeah, she was like, the fabric is not right. She said the fabric is not right. And she was just like, but the woven is really nice.
Okay.
So come to find out, when I did a little research on the woven, they don't even make it anymore. So like, stuff like that was really inspiring because she was saying like, it's really shitty. It's really shitty, but it's well made. The way they put it together was well made. The woven. So when I go to this guy I know who sells vintage, and he was telling me, he said the woven they don't make anymore.
Got it.
So stuff down to stuff like that. But I mean, for myself, style is just it's from the heart. It shouldn't be. If you like something, I would tell you to go buy it. But definitely, I remember like a friend of mine, this lady I know, she sells like vintage jewelry, and she told me, she said, stop buying bullshit. So you don't buy because it looks nice, but buy because it means something to you and it's worth just that.
Right.
So one of the reasons, like I don't feel to spend money on like clothes. I think like things like hats, glasses, nice jewelry, nice shoes. to me, those make the outfit.
Gotcha.
But to spend money on clothes, I don't see it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the things that that are being made are not being made well. Like if you're gonna spend money on clothes, you really should know what it is that you look the best in, what is the thing that makes you feel the most powerful, what is the thing that represents you the most, and spend the money on that. Like if you think, a trench coat, that's like the thing that you spend your money on, a trench coat. And then, sometimes you're gonna, there's no getting away from buying the stuff that's like, buy and throw away. So like you buy a little cheap dress and then you have like a great coat on top and you spend that money on that coat. You're gonna wear that coat until you die. You're gonna pass it on to your daughter.
I have a friend, right? And he works for Tom Ford. And when he got in there, he didn't really understand. Like Tom Ford is one of those brands. It's beautiful clothes, but it's expensive as hell. It's very expensive. I mean, even I've been to like the outlet stores. Even in the outlet stores, it's like, damn. You look at it, like, this is very nice, but it's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's definitely like your mortgage for a sweater. So he was saying how when he put on the suit, and he was telling me how like going through the suit, the seams and stuff, how well made and tailored these clothes are. He said, T, it's amazing. He said, like, you wear a Tom Ford suit, you never want to go to a bullshit suit again. It's just like, no, I
That's
don't want it.
one of the things that I love. That's one of the things that I love about fashion, or at least the design part, the production part, because like I said, I'm a pattern maker, and I'm more like, I love construction. Like I look at when they have all the when we go to the museums and they have all those shows and stuff like that, I look at how things were made back in the day. And I don't look at like the outside, I look at the inside and I'm like, wow, look at these are French seams. These are like, welt pockets and things like that. Like I look at that stuff and that's the stuff that I'm like crazy over. I don't care.
That's the thing that makes the garment.
Yes.
That's the thing that makes the garment.
So,
and when you open it, it's just like, like you open like a really nice pair of tailored pants. I'm a guy that's into like dress pants. When you open a really nice pair of tailored pants and looking at the piping, the seams, so stuff like that. Those are the things like when you look at when I see people in those things, I know that person loves what they do. Gotcha. They're not playing. This is what they do.
I want you to piggyback off of what you were talking about, like with social media. Like, can you get more into that?
Social media has played a big part in how young black people look at fashion and like who they look to for inspiration, because I think, we all had our people, but when you look at young black people and who they have the rappers, they have, the Instagram girls and the social media girls, and like they're wearing fast stuff, right? Like
fast fashion.
they're running Dior down, they're running LV down, they're running all these brands down, like logo heavy, like we could thank Dapper Dan for that. That's really important to mention. But I think when we talk about style and like where are you looking for these things, right? Like where are you looking for this inspiration? And I think that's super important for our community to realize how we started those things and where those things come from, and like how we need to just like elevate a little bit.
It is interesting to me just because I'm a teacher, so I have teenagers. And I think the big difference, is that it is consistent. You weren't sitting all day watching rap videos.
Exactly.
Like you
because you were at school.
You hung out with your friends, and then you watch the rap videos. They spend all day just like, Cuffy, whatever, and then, going back to the videos. So that's part of it, the exposure. But also, I don't know if it's the school that I'm at. Well, probably it is the school that I'm at. I've had a couple of students who were influencers. Like one girl was sitting in my room, had like 70K when she started, had just gotten like a Shea Moisture sponsorship. Another girl was like modeling and stuff, and so she had we have a couple of kids who know what to do with it. And the interesting thing that I try to point out without singling them out because it makes them feel nervous is that they're always the kids who don't follow the trends. They're always the kids, the ones who are the influencers, the ones who make the money. I'm always trying to point out to them, you see her? You see how she mind her business? And how, no, seriously, it's the kids who mind their business, they do their work. Like, we've had kids be on Project Runway Junior and stuff like that, and it's always the kids who mind their business, who do their work, and who literally have figured out early, who am I and who do I want to show everybody else that I am.
It's just the consumption of how fashion is being done right now. Like, social media really playing a big part into everybody wanting to be that girl or that boy. Like they want to be leading in the front, but it's like you're doing everything that everybody's doing around you. So it's like y'all all are going to be dressing alike, looking alike, shopping the same places. You have to be very careful about those certain things. And I think it's just really going back to style. You know, like not many people have style. They trend shopping, and that leads to bad sustainability. Like your closet is aging very poorly, and you're spending all this money, and then you don't know where your closet is going to be the next 6 months. So then you have to go back and shop again, and it's just a bad repetition. So that's just my experience.
And I think these luxury labels know that.
They
know,
Yeah.
right?
They
They know what
smart.
they're doing. They know
Smart.
who to play to. And you know, they know how to get people to invest in things, right? And when I mean people, they mean us. You know, it's not far-fetched for other communities to know that Black people like to look good, right? You know, we were it before anybody else was it. So, you know, these luxury labels, they make these things that are trendy, they make these things that are like very urban, this like street culture wear, and they market it to us. They market it specifically to us, and we go out and we spend our money on it. And to your question, we're not properly represented. We're not properly represented in what they do.
I work in the corporates and stuff like that, and these mostly these luxury labels, they know who their clientele is. They're usually like an older, Caucasian person. They have lots of money and stuff like that. Those are the people who are gonna buy from them always. And they are the ones that are the face of their company. They're the ones that they want represented. They're the ones who they want walking down the street and showing their label. They just want our money. They don't want us to be the face of the company. So I have had a lot of experience in trying to get work as a designer in these companies and stuff like that. My most infamous story, I always tell this story to everybody.
We love the story. Come on with it.
Okay. So my most infamous story about trying to get work in one of these I won't say the name, it's a very famous luxury company, goes back years and stuff like that. I went there. So at the time I was living in Italy. I went to school. I went to Polymoda, and I finished out my fashion, schooling there, and I ended up staying there. And so I was living there. I heard about this company that was looking for designers, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can. I'd like to go back to New York. Let me see if I can get an interview. So the recruiter, she was like, when you're back in New York, let me know, blah blah blah, and we'll set up an interview. And I'm like, cool. I'm telling my boss, I did everything that I needed to do to get the week off. I left Italy. I had a 3-year-old son at the time. Husband was there also, and I came to New York, bought a ticket, got here, didn't have an interview, but I told everybody I had interviews so that I can get here. And then I got there. I finally worked my way to get this interview with this lady. And I bought her my portfolio, and it had all of these, and you teach at High School of Fashion, they teach us, we're classically trained, we know, we do, we look at our inspirations are coming from old designers, European designers and stuff like that. So I gave her my portfolio. I had boucle, Chanel type jackets, I had organza skirts, I had
I know these words.
gowns.
I don't know what they mean, but I heard them before. So I heard it. Yeah, I'm following you.
I had high fashion, corseted gowns, everything in there. And she looks at me and she's like, so how come you're not trying for the hip hop companies? And I was like,
Because I have organza.
at the time, hip hop has gotten quite elegant.
100%.
But back then, we were wearing velour suits with juicy across the front.
Yeah.
We had
Shout out to Sean
baggy-
John.
It was Sean John. She was like, doesn't J-Lo have a line out right now? It was Sean John. It was the big jackets. It was the baggy jeans and stuff like that. There was nothing in that portfolio that she saw that was hip hop. So I was like, how did she see hip hop? And I didn't say anything because I was trying for the hip hop companies too. But but I just at the end I was like, how did she see hip hop in my portfolio? So
She saw you.
She saw me, exactly.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I did not get the job, but it did light the fire in me to, get back here and do what I had to do to get back into fashion and stuff like that. So that was, it was unfortunate, but for me, it just lit another fire. You know what I'm saying?
We're about to wrap up. This conversation has been great, and I appreciate everybody's insight. But before we leave, I just want to know what do you see as sustainability in this industry? And if you feel like where you are in this industry, do you have what it takes to be sustainable, to use this in your artistry to survive and to create a lifestyle for yourself and your children, your children's children, and creating generational wealth? I think is a lot of Black people's mindset. Now I know it's mine, right? I'm always thinking about what can I do to maximize on my strengths and my artistry, and like, is that gonna bring me monetary success, right? Because at the end of the day, without the dollar, I can't live. So being in the industries that you all are part of, do you see what you do as sustainable?
I wanted to say, I guess, because a lot of us, we see all the designers and stuff like that. We see the red carpets and all of that, and your automatic thought is to be, oh, I want to be Gucci, I want to be this person, I want to, and I'm gonna have all the red carpets, I'm gonna have all the celebrities and stuff like that. And that is not the only part of fashion. Like speaking of in the production part, from the production area where I work. Working in the fashion industry is not only about working for those high-end companies. There are very just regular offices and stuff like that where you can work and have money and stuff like that. Like, I just want to go to work. I want to earn money. I want to go home to my house that I own, put my kids through college and stuff like that. And you can do that. Like, if you're trying to work for all those big names, that money is being spent all the time. You can't grow a business that way. You cannot, that money is not coming back to you because you're spending so much, because it's so much that goes into it. So just find a smaller thing, and you can even get on the trains and stuff like that. People's like, oh, look at that, that's that designer, blah blah blah. Like, you can, there's just anonymity and stuff like that, or just working with your community. Like you said, you have your Slacks and stuff like that, providing a service for the people in your community. You can earn a good living doing that once you get a following, once you get your customers, once you get your clientele. Everybody's coming to Terrence to get their pants done and stuff like that. Like, that can happen. Like, I think that we have to get out of the mindset of being the most known name and stuff like that, because there are people who are sitting right next to you on the train and they are working $1 million companies and you would never know it. So trying not to be those big, forget about them. That's not where it's at. There's a lot of stress in that. You can just do something in your community, and that's it.
I think in terms of sustainable, especially in a business, what I'm learning from not having a business of my own, but looking at other people, but then also thinking about what I do as a teacher, and then what I want to do as a whatever else it is I'm doing. I think what makes something sustainable is people. If your business is about people, then it's sustainable. So I think of, I'm a teacher.
Right.
And I hate it most of the time. I wish I could quit every day. And then, I'm there with the kids and I'm like, okay, whatever, y'all are jerks, whatever, but whatever. And you don't really see the effects of it in class.
Right.
But actually it's funny because it just came to my head. So I'm scrolling through my Instagram one day and I see this guy, I took these pictures from Beyonce. And he's like, yeah.
Tyler Photos, I follow him.
Wait, no,
the one that did the Vogue.
This one is a kid. Well, I don't know his real name.
Okay.
All I know is that he took Beyonce's photos.
Okay.
But we're not that one for Black is King.
Gotcha. Okay.
This just happened.
Okay.
So I'm looking and I'm like, wow, I follow this kid. Oh, because when he was like 16, he came to my school. One of the kids was like, can I bring my friend to shoot or whatever like that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because I teach a magazine class and we create like photos and stuff. I teach them how to do styling and photography and stuff like that. And so she's like, I'm bringing my friend or whatever. Can he come take these pictures? And I'm like, this little kid, like, all right, fine. It's supposed to be for the kids. Come on, kid. And he starts taking pictures and I was like, yeah, you can do the whole shoot. Go ahead, do the whole shoot. So now, this is like 5 years later, I'm looking through and I'm like, and he's writing like, you know, imagine Beyonce looking right at you. And I was just like,
That's what
and
it's
I
about.
have a magazine in my house with his picture in it where he's taking all of these things. So I like shot him a DM, like trying not to be creepy, like I know you probably don't know it. Because I was even his picture, like he came from another school, but he was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
He was like, that was an amazing day. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And it was like, oh, so you are doing something in life.
Yeah.
You're doing something
Teachers,
in life.
No, you have to. Teachers,
No.
you
It's
guys.
the
maybe
gift
you
that
feel-
keeps on giving.
yes.
Listen.
Maybe you feel you're not getting through to the kids or whatever, but there's that one kid who's like, man,
It's always that one.
Always that one.
But I feel like because when I remember that this is about the people that I'm producing, even when I have like the little fashion videos that I do them because it's fun and I want to dress up, but I also do them because I'm like, hey, this is what self-care looks like. If you don't want to sit and meditate for an hour, you could twerk in
Dress
your
up,
room
right.
or dress up. Like you could do these things. It don't always look the same. And so when I remember this isn't for me, this is for the people that I would like to serve, the people that I would like to give something to, the people that I would like to feel better because I'm around.
100%.
Then it'll last. I think that'll make it
Love
sustain.
that.
oh, teachers are doing the Lord's work.
No, God.
Teachers are doing it. We are doing God's work. Let's really talk about it.
I'm gonna get the Rona.
This may be, but is it worth it? I don't know, but I don't know. Anybody else want to add to that?
I just think it's about paying it forward.
Yes.
So if you have something that you want to sustain, you give it off, and you make sure that person gives it off, and then that person gives it off. Not even speaking about fashion, but just in my circle in general, we all have something to give, and then they give it to their circle. Because even though we have a circle of friends, our friends have a circle, and our friends have a circle, and our friends have a circle. So it grows and it goes. So I think just never being too cocky or too high up or too extra to just look behind you and pull the next person above you. Because the same people you pass on the way up, you pass them again on the way down. So as long as you just look right back over, if you make it somewhere, you look back and you pull that person that you know, and I think it sustains and it builds character and it builds growth and it shows people like there's always someone there. You can take the leap because the parachute will open.
I appreciate that. Thank you all so much for that. I think that was so great. Let's clap it up for everybody. That is a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Dishing with Dell. Join me next time as I sit with a few of my students as we talk education during the pandemic.